Hi, and welcome to something else. Um, this is Arya, of course. So we have a little bit of a schedule change today. Trey had a bit of a family emergency. He was unable to record the Tuesday show in time for the show to drop this morning. So we're gonna switch things up this week. So you're about to hear a show that Cindy and I recorded that was originally supposed to drop tomorrow, and of course we'll make all references to it being Wednesday, but of course, it's Tuesday. So enjoy. We'll be back tomorrow with the Mid-South World Class show, and then Thursday with the Smoky Mountain show. All right, take care.
Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to
Something else.
something else, Daddy.
This is Nicole Matara, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to something else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
And welcome to episode number 139 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at NWA Total Nonstop Action from November 6th, 2002. My name is Arya, and joining me is somebody who is equally a glutton for punishment as I am. It's Cindy. Cindy, how the hell are you today?
Mandatory overtime can burn in hell.
Hopefully you're at least getting paid a time and a half for that
Yeah, I'm getting
mandatory
paid time and a
OT.
half. I am.
I guess sometimes you got to look at the positives. Plus,
$30 an hour.
I mean, hell, I wouldn't say no to $30 an hour. You know. Um, and is this going to be a regular thing that you have to do mandatory OT because of the holidays coming up, or is this just a weird one-off?
It's a weird off and on.
Well, speaking of weird things, the fucking weather has just been stupidly crazy lately. Here in Massachusetts this week, it was fucking 77 degrees yesterday.
I think we have
Like,
your weather.
we need to trade off here.
Well, it was rainy. Well, here's the thing. Just today, it was sunny, it was windy, it was bright, it was rainy. Now it's dark. It doesn't know what the hell to do. It was like that Lewis Black joke. It was 30, it was 90, it was 60, it was 12.
I'm sorry that it was 12.
Centigrade.
But by the way, yeah, and I mean, Trae lives in Texas, so 77 is the average temperature for him this time of year. I'm in New England, you're in Washington. It is
Yep.
not supposed to be in the 70s in November.
Nope.
But anyway, before we dive into this, and before we talk about Jerry Jarrett's book, I want to talk about a much better book. My book.
Of
40 years
course.
of 40 years of pay-per-view, book one, 1985 through 1990. It is selling like hotcakes as long as it's a small town hotcake stand. So, I mean, it's weird. Like this morning, the Amazon thing, it resets every month to tell you how many books you sold in a given month, obviously. And when I was looking at it on the first, it was like, oh, well, I'm not going to sell that many this month because, the big first day of sales, the big first week of sales. But then, somehow people suddenly discovered my book today, and I've sold quite a few copies in the last 24 hours.
Well, there
So
you go.
yay me. And I was on Observer Live this past week talking about it. And apparently you need a subscription to listen to Observer Live after the fact. So Hey, if you subscribe to the Observer website, go check out my appearance on Observer Live last Thursday. I think it was, yeah, it was Halloween.
And can you also rip Arya a copy?
Yes, yes, indeed. Um, so yeah, by the way, 40 years of pay-per-view where I look at every single pay-per-view from 1985 through 1990, along with all the fun backstage drama, all of Vince McMahon's power plays, that all the times he bullied the cable companies just to have the pay-per-view companies bully him right back. Um, by the way, pick a number between 1 and 410.
12.
12. I mean, it's probably going to be the Wrestling Classic. Uh, yes, it is in fact the Wrestling Classic. Dynamite Kid versus Adrian Adonis in a second round tournament match. Um, and I note that we've moved to a 15-minute time limit, but spoiler, that is not important. And by the way, Dynamite Kid did defeat Adrian Adonis in that match, and I gave it a rating of 4.5 out of 10.
I saw that match. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
By the way, Adrian apparently put on the sharpshooter, and I was encouraging the referee to ring the fucking bell.
Because fuck
But
Dynamite Kid.
yes, but apparently Survivor Series is 12 years later, not in 1985.
Yeah, but the Black Widow Wendy Richter screw job happened around that time.
Yes, it did. Was it Black Widow? Was that Moolah's name?
Yeah, it was Black Widow. Or the spider. No, the spider.
Spider Lady. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Black Widow's a better name, so it couldn't be Moolah.
I mean, calling it Black Widow would be saying Moolah did something that was good.
Yeah.
Do you remember when she wrote her book and she tried to pretend all the matches that she won were shoots and all the matches that she lost were works?
Go. Thank God she's dead.
So NWA Total Nonstop Action, episode number 20, November 6, 2002, live from the Asylum in Nashville, Tennessee, this week in Jerry Jarrett's book. So the very first sentence in the very first entry for this week, I
Can I guess
received a
it?
reply. Sure.
I received a reply from the Carters, and they told me that it's going to be Vince Russo going forward. I told them, fuck you, and I quit.
Not yet.
Oh,
This week's first line is, I received a reply from Russo and he is beyond help. He forwarded Russo's email to Jeff and said that he refuses to allow a person like Russo to fill him with negative thoughts. He cannot allow himself to be drained of positive energy to appease Jeff just because he feels a misguided need to protect Russo. And Jerry Jarrett, by the way, like when you read his book, I mean, it's his journal, it's his diary from that year. He typically writes every single day, even if it's like one sentence. After that, he didn't write for 5 days. And I can only imagine what went through his head. But the next thing he wrote was that he had a meeting with Jeff, Bob Ryder, and Chris Sobel of Panda Energy. Jerry explains to Sobel that Russo is terrible as a writer, although he is passionate and can be very convincing in his arguments for his causes, which are disastrous traits as a writer, but great for a character. He explains the plan is for Russo to form a group called Sports Entertainment Extreme, which will be based around Russo trying to replace the traditional NWA with sports entertainment and replacing the NWA title with the SEX title. So, yeah, spoiler alert that Sports Entertainment Extreme is a thing coming up.
the name of the theme song that they use for the group, Sex Sells.
I mean, I guess that's if you're gonna pick a name for the group, or the theme for the group. That would be a theme. And by the way, Chris Sobel, I don't know how long this dude sticks around, but apparently, this was the first show he went to, and he began hitting on Goldilocks and asked her on a date. And the issue with that, or one of the issues with that, is that Chris Sobel is married.
Wasn't Goldilocks
So
married too at this time?
I honestly don't know. Jerry didn't mention that. So yeah, we'll see if that everything comes of that. Jerry Jarrett is concerned about saying anything because uh, if he says anything to Panda, maybe they'll fire Goldilocks and they're going to have a lawsuit. And and there's also the chance that they may pull their funding and back out of the project entirely. All because one of their guys are going after Goldilocks. Oh well, on to the show.
Do
The
we
show
have to?
starts, well, we can't finish it if we don't start it. Um,
The show
this,
was
by the
bleh at
way,
the end.
this show was the show that made Bryan and Vinny quit reviewing TNA. I mean, it was a long time coming, but this show was the final straw. And to be honest, while this was not the worst show we've seen. Actually, I think I give it a higher rating than I figured I would going in. But
No, there was that
yeah,
3 episode stretch that we watched were way worse than this.
oh yeah, yeah. There was a 3 episode stretch that like the episodes I titled "Descent into Madness," "Madness," and something else. I forget what it was. But anyway, the show starts with a video about the recent NWA 54th anniversary in Corpus Christi, Texas. This is the show we talked about last week where Ron Killings defended the title against future LAX member Hernandez on a show that Jerry Jarrett shit on. Um, so our first match is scheduled to be Miss TNA Bruce versus Jorge Estrada. And we can't just have a match between Bruce and Jorge Estrada. We have to have a lengthy video package to document the history of the match between Bruce and Jorge Estrada. There was no better use we could find for this 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go backstage because not only is Bruce here, Lenny is back. Lenny Lane. So the Rainbow Express, who haven't been together since like July 10th, I think.
Yeah, but he was still working. He was still wrestling around this time. I thought he was out with an injury, but no. The thing was, it's what happened with a lot of people during this time. Lenny's not local, and Lenny Lane lives in Minnesota.
All the way from Minnesota, don't you know?
Ah,
And so anyway, we have a backstage promo, obviously taped earlier today. Either that or Bruce is absurdly fast at changing clothes, which I have my doubts.
can I talk about
But
his shoes for a second?
I was just about to bring that up. Bruce was wearing a fantastic pair of heels.
I would throw. Those are the type of shoes Stacy London and Clayton Kelly would have thrown in the trash on what not to wear.
Well, this is going to be the first time you're ever going to hear me say this, and possibly the only time I would wear something Bruce was wearing on this show. I love those boots with the chunky heel, the wacky color scheme. That was right up my alley.
That's exactly why they would go in the trash.
Those people are not allowed in my house to go through my closet. Let's just say that. I might have to go to work naked until I get paid again if they were.
They give you $5,000 to go shopping.
I could get a lot of clothes at Savers for $5,000. Probably buy the whole goddamn store for $5,000.
No, they would make you buy quality clothes. So you'd have decent outfits and whatnot.
So I'd have 10 pieces of clothing.
No, you'd
Sounds
have more
good.
like 60 to 70.
Well, either way, I still don't want them to take my clothes away. I like my clothes. There's a reason I have them. Um, anyway, Bruce
Sorry
mentions
about the
that,
delay, folks. I wanted to delay this match as possible.
well, Bruce in the interview, in addition to wearing some great boots, he says that um, that Lenny is now the runner-up to Miss TNA, and so if Bruce cannot perform his duties as Miss TNA, that Lenny will fill his shoes. And that leads us to our opening match. Now, you might recall, you know, in for like, I don't know, the show's been on the air for 20 weeks. We probably said 17 or 18 times that the ideal way to open these shows is with an X Division match because it's a fun, fast-paced match, and the crowd always gets into it. It's a simple, easy strategy that everybody loves. And in fact, there is a five-way X Division match on this show that's pretty good, and it would have been great to have it right here in the opener to really set the tone for the rest of the show, especially since we have an X title match as the main event. You have your X Division bookending the show. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what we did here.
Oh, hell no.
We had Miss TNA Bruce with Lenny versus Jorge Estrada with Priscilla. Now, we've seen Bruce now for most of the 20 weeks this show has been on the air. Like there are honestly very few people who have wrestled on this show more than Bruce, which is just sad for a number of reasons. But by and large, when Bruce, especially Bruce in a singles match, his match is 2 or 3 minutes long. It sucks. I give it a 0. We all move on with our lives. This match went almost 10 minutes.
And to be perfectly honest, Jorge's not that great of a wrestler either.
No, he's not. Now, Tenay said that last week Jorge wrestled by himself because due to the substitution, he didn't want Priscilla wrestling a man. We won't bother mentioning that Bruce replaced Mortimer Plumtree, who is in fact a man. And
well,
Jorge
he's a bit
had
of
no
a manager geek type of person, so that's about, it would have been 1.5.
Yes, but they also left in the line about how with Bruce in the match now it really is a mixed tag because he's gay and that makes him a girl.
Yeah, they did leave that in.
So Lenny is eating a banana on the way to the ring, which was, of course, a very subtle reference that I'm sure no one picked up on. Um, Mike and Don made fun of what the responsibilities of Miss TNA are. Remember when this was supposed to be maybe not a serious title, but as close to a serious women's title as we were going to get? Now we're going to have Bruce and Jorge Estrada wrestle for the women's title.
Not
And
quite. Sorry if I'm interrupting.
not quite meaning that they're not wrestling for the women's title.
No, if Jorge wins, Priscilla wins the Miss TNA title.
Yes, but Priscilla's not wrestling for the title herself. Jorge is wrestling for the title.
By proxy.
Yes. So yes, in case you need to spell that for you more, if Jorge wins, then Priscilla, a woman who is, I guess technically she's had one match, but she wasn't really a participant in it, but a woman who's had 0 matches will become Miss TNA. Bruce got his foot on the rope on a cover at one point. Priscilla disagreed with this, so she jumped up on the apron. While the referee was distracted, Bruce picked Jorge up for a power bomb, and Lenny came off the top rope with a drop kick, which I admit I like moves like that. I like cute little moves like that. Bruce goes for a sunset flip power bomb to the floor while Jorge was on the apron, but Jorge reversed that into a hurricanrana. In the ring, Jorge goes for a lion salt. Bruce gets his knees up. Priscilla rolls into the ring and kisses Bruce, which of course pissed off the gay man because he's just been like Priscilla just forced herself on him. So sexual assault here on TNA this week. So Lenny stalks Priscilla on the outside, grabbing her by the hair. Bruce comes over to accost her as well. Jorge dives out of the ring onto the Rainbow Express. Bruce, for some reason, shoves Lenny and goes running after Priscilla, but he slipped on Lenny Lane's banana peel and smacked his head off the ground. And so Jorge Estrada wins by count out. Now, last week on this very show, they announced that the titles can change hands via countout and disqualification. So, since we just had a countout, that means Priscilla's the new Miss TNA, right? No. Borash gets on the mic, and maybe I misheard this. I listened to it twice, and this is what I picked up on it. Borash gets on the mic and says that since this was not an intentional disqualification, that Bruce retains the Miss TNA title. We're off to a fucking amazing start here.
By the way, did they not? I had to go back to the Bob Armstrong promo from last week when I heard that from Borash. It is true. Bob Armstrong did say if you get yourself intentionally disqualified or counted out, you lose the title.
Yeah. So
Slipping
technically,
on
I
a
was
banana
right.
peel, your opponent, your own partner left
Mhm.
there, which, by the way, $50 fine for littering, which means
Is
Lenny
that
doesn't get paid this week.
is that a Tennessee law?
Yeah, it's Tennessee law.
Well, I mean, it is possible that he wasn't getting paid anyway.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
There's also another moment that I'd like to bring up.
Of course.
Before the moonsault, or during the exchange before the moonsault, Jorge says, "I'm going to Graceland." Bruce says, "Bullshit, you are." Add some money to the swear jar, Homer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's by the way, this is the first time tonight we'll have A, sexual assault, and B, the Homer swear jar coming into play.
I'm gonna say it's also not the last time we have sexual assault on this show.
I know.
0.5 out of 10,
I
which is
gave
a
it an
high
app.
rating.
Yeah.
So you gave it a what?
I gave it an apt score.
I'd say 0.5 is a high score for uh these matches for Bruce, for me anyway.
I gave it a 2 out of 10. That's about as shitty as a match gets.
In the back, where Goldilocks interviewed your favorite person, Sonny Siaki, who will be facing BG James in a semifinal tournament match tonight. Sonny Siaki says that Sonny Siaki is the reason why the young ladies watch TNA, and that Sonny Siaki is the past, the present, and the future of TNA.
The
What was
counter
the Sonny
was,
Siaki count?
I was going to say, the count was oddly very low. It was only 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't counting, but when I was watching, it seemed like it was a lot.
That was only 5.
I will have to take your word for it. But by the way, the
Oh,
tournament
sexual
brackets
assault. No, before that,
easy
sexual
for you to say.
harassment. Yeah. Sexual harassment number 2. Sonny Siaki decides to pull that Panda Energy guy and do what he did in a promo. Because when
Maybe
Sonny Siaki does it, it's kayfabe. But when that douchebag for Panda Energy does it, it's almost a lawsuit.
Yeah. By the way, we finally get tournament brackets for our number one contenders tournament. The 3 first-round matches from last week, Jeff Jarrett beat Curt Hennig, so he will face the winner of tonight's 6-Pac Brian Lawler match. BG James beat Ron Harris, and Sonny Siaki beat Jerry Lynn. And so BG is going to wrestle Sonny Siaki. And then, of course, in case you've never seen how a tournament works, those two will face the winners of each other in the finals. And then we get our first second round match. Now you may go, what? Didn't you just say there's still a first round match to go? And I'm going to say yes. Yes, there is. But screw that. We need to have a second round match first. And so it's Sonny Siaki versus BG James in our tournament semifinals. So as we mentioned last week, 6 Pac Brian Lawler did not happen because Pac had a dislocated hip. Apparently that hip was relocated. So Pac is here and will wrestle Brian Lawler right here tonight. So the last few weeks we mentioned that Jerry Lynn solved the mystery of getting a good match out of Sonny Siaki. Well, Lynn did not bother to share that information with the rest of the locker room. This was not the worst match of all time, but like this is not a good pairing, BG and Siaki. This is why before we had brackets, I assumed Siaki was going to wrestle the winner of 6 Pac versus Brian Lawler, and Jarrett was going to wrestle BG, which would have made for a better tournament overall. But who needs shit to be better, right?
Oh, it already started out with a bad note. BG cuts a promo on Siaki, and it's one of the worst ones he's cut.
Yes, there was a lot of insider terminology here. He, you know, he also said that Siaki looked as good as his left ass cheek. And I mean, I mean, Sonny Siaki's not a bad looking guy, or maybe BG's
No,
saying that he has a really nice left ass cheek. I don't know.
I think it's because the right ass cheek has got all those needle points, needle pricks, and stuff like that.
See, I was not going to say that.
What do you mean? I mean, that's where he gets his booster shots.
Also, BG doesn't have the body that you think of as somebody who is a major steroid freak.
Exactly. So it's booster shots. I mean, he
I
probably
can't tell
doesn't
you
want to
that.
ruin. He doesn't want to ruin his arms. And plus, if you get a shot in the butt, it's muscular. It works faster.
I can't tell you the number of times I got a booster shot in the ass. So by the way, we were reminded last week that BG James took on Ron Harris with Don Harris as the referee. BG's dad then replaced Ron's brother with BG's brother as referee halfway through the match. And yeah, BG won. It's like these poor Harrises getting screwed over by the Armstrongses.
It's like we're
Um,
watching Smoky
so
Mountain all over again.
if this was Smoky Mountain, the Harrises would get what they deserve. By the way, the Armstrongs and the Harrises are feuding on Smoky Mountain. If you want to listen to the show tomorrow, um, but Siaki hits a running neck breaker, goes up top for a move, but Jerry Lynn wandered to ringside to distract Siaki because why not? BG hits his knee drop before finishing Siaki off with the gay butt sex pump handle slam. I thought this match was 4 times as good as the opener, which only gives it a 2.0 rating.
I gave it a 3. I thought it was fine. I mean, Siaki did some good leg work at the beginning, in the middle of the match. I mean, so
Uh,
there was some chemistry in this match. I mean, there was some thought put into this match. I mean, more thought than any of the previous matches that BG James had so far in this company.
and I always got to point out that BG always has to make the thrusting motion with his penis at his opponent's ass, even though when he did it to Bruce, he was disgusted because Bruce enjoyed it. You know, how dare him? How dare his opponent enjoy the unwanted anal invasion? Is that sexual assault number 3? You think of the show?
Hold on, let me consult the Tennessee Wrestling Rulebook.
This is why we need Trae's unified wrestling rule book printed out.
Yeah, number 3.
All right. So we've been talking for a few weeks. Actually, you've been talking for a few weeks about how we were closing in on the day when America's Most Wanted dropped the. Oh, by the way, oh, you gave it a 3. Never mind.
Yeah,
We were
sure.
closing in on the day where AMW dropped the comedy and decided to actually be a serious tag team. We got that moment. And as a fun surprise, I'm going to play the promo. So let's go to Goldilocks, who's with Chris Harris and James Storm backstage.
Chris Harris, do you think you could just get James Storm to come?
You want James Storm? Then you go get James Storm. You're going to deal with me. And what you're dealing with right now are two guys that are going to do what they want and when they want from now on. And what that means is that we're not taking any more shit. For an entire week, a whole week, I've had to think about just what evil is all about. And for an entire week, I haven't slept. Is it because of the pain? The pain of being driven through a table by whatever in the hell Slash thinks he is? Or is it because I've gone just a little bit insane? New Church, for all you know, I may just go insane all over your asses. Just what in the hell is the New Church? You say you're pure evil? Well, a lot of these people know a little bit of evil runs through this body too. And tonight, I'm gonna run a little evil all over your burning carcass! You know, it has to be cold outside because I swore that when I walked into the building I could see my breath. And nature has a way of when it gets cold, as dropping the leaves from the tree, that's a sign of death. And Jim Mitchell, you think that you could kill the cowboy by throwing me through a table down there breaking my leg? Well, let me tell you something. I am the biggest, the baddest son of a bitch on the face of this earth. And it's gonna take more than throwing me through a table to get rid of me. I am not one of them men who crawls in a hole waiting to turn to ashes. I will wait until I'm able to kick your ass. And Slash and Lee, you say you're from hell. You ain't seen hell yet, but it's coming tonight. And like I've always said, like AMW has said all along, sorry about your damn luck, boys.
All right. So AMW is here. I think we can officially say that this is their official coming out. And it's amazing because, like, we will see later in the show, we'll talk about, AJ Styles and the difference between week 1 AJ and week 20 AJ. Like, Chris Harris and James Storm, it's like we've seen a lot of questionable Chris Harris and James Storm promos, over relying on a comedy, over relying on the partners who don't get along bullshit. It's like they needed that angle from last week where, they got their asses beat by the New Church, by Brian Lee and by Slash. And after that, this was the perfect promo to cut. And obviously both of them, and I know Chris Harris doesn't get credit, for, his talking. Not that he's the greatest talker ever, but he does get pretty decent at it. But, this obviously isn't, Harris and Storm at their peak as talkers, but this is a giant step in the right direction, and I don't know or care who worked with them on this promo or who produced them, because Jerry is letting a lot of the other guys backstage handle producing some of the backstage segments. Whoever worked with them on this need to still be in TNA to this day, because they did a fucking great job here.
I'm trying to remember who it was. It was either Borash, because he did a lot of stuff backstage during this time, or it might be Jim Mitchell.
Jerry Jarrett was saying a lot about Mortimer Plumtree doing a lot of the agenting too.
Ooh. So I think it's between those three, and if it was, to me that sounds a lot more like Mitchell.
I mean, either way, whomever did it, even if it wasn't even the person who produced it, it may have just been somebody backstage said, "Hey, why don't you try this? This worked." I mean, Harris and Storm, they still sound a little off, I'll say. Like they haven't quite found their voice, but their voice now is a lot better than their voice was 2 months ago.
Yep.
Especially like Storm has dropped the horribly fake, over the top buckaroo voice, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
And he debuted the "sorry about your damn luck" catchphrase. And obviously it wasn't, as great as it will be one day, but hey, it was there. It comes with the beard, I'm assuming. When his beard grows in, so does the "sorry about your damn luck."
While drinking a beer.
Yes. So then we get Harris and Storm, our World Tag Team Champions, versus the Disciples of the New Church with Jim Mitchell. Before the match, Jim Mitchell cut a promo telling Harris and Storm not to yell too much. He said the New Church will not listen to any rules except the ones that Jim Mitchell give him, which honestly does not work out too well for them here, because if they would have followed the pro wrestling rules, they may be champions right now. But instead, they followed Jim Mitchell's rules and thus are not champions right now. So Harris and Storm run the 20 feet to the ring, and the match is on. They fight in the ring for roughly 12 seconds before they fight to the floor. We got a lot of blood in this match. AMW gives Slash the death sentence, but don't go for the cover. Lee pulls Storm out of the ring and throws him into the metal barricade. Lee then attacks Harrison on the other side of the ring as Jim Mitchell takes a spike to the head of Storm, which, of course, shockingly is what busts Storm's head open. Slash misses a flipping leg drop off the top rope. Harris gets the hot tag, gives Lee a catatonic. Mitchell jumps up on the apron to distract the referee while Slash brains Harris with a chair. Not the last time we will see someone get brained with a chair tonight. Slash claws at Harris's forehead, trying to bust him open, but Harris explodes off the ropes with a double clothesline before tagging back out. We get a four-way. Mitchell hands Brian Lee the spike, who uses it on both Harris and Storm and gets disqualified. After the match, the New Church continued to beat them down until security finally got them to leave. I really liked this match. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 7 out of 10. By the way, I'd like to introduce something. Okay. Something that has been talked about in a lot of wrestling circles. Have you heard of the Muda meter?
Of course.
I think it applies to this match with Slash.
Slash was leaking blood here.
It wasn't just leaking, it was gushing.
Somebody turned the faucet on Slash's head and, out it came.
Mm-hmm. It originally started at a 1.5. But by the end of the match, when they got,
we might need a Slash scale, before too long.
Yeah. But by the time the New Church was done, it was at a good 2.5.
Up next, we have Brian Lawler with April versus Six Pac in our first round number 1 contenders tournament match. So since we've already had one of the semifinal matches, essentially what's left here is a gauntlet match, because the winner of this is going to face Jeff Jarrett, the winner of that is going to face BG James, and the winner of that is going to face Ron Killings. So it's a 3-week-long gauntlet match for all intents and purposes at this point. So Lawler comes out first. He walks April to the ring. He leads her to a seat. And then I guess I wasn't looking for it, but I'm assuming he basically ran all the way around the back of the arena because Six Pac's music played. He starts coming out, and Brian Lawler, who we just saw at ringside, is now running down the ramp to attack Six Pac from behind. The story of this match, Lawler kept trying to get April to interfere, but April wouldn't. And I mean, it's a good thing she didn't, because technically it should have been a disqualification.
Mm-hmm.
Lawler picked Pac up and sent him crotch first into the ring post. Ouch. Although Pac did once didn't he tear his groin doing the Bronco Buster once in a match?
I think it He did near the tail end of his WWF career.
I think it was like in his indie run, like afterwards.
Oof.
And I'd have to look that back up. Anyway, Lawler gets in a fan's face, grabs his hat, and throws it at him. So the fans started cheering. Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Fan was being a
Lawler
prick anyway, so he deserved it.
Lawler missed the Tennessee Jam, and Pac takes over, including making the Bronco Buster even gayer than usual as he pulls Bryan's face into his crotch. We have sexual assault number 4 on this show as Pac rolled outside and forcibly kissed April. Lawler was pissed, so he went out, kicked Six in the face, and then began wiping April's face with his hand because that will take back, the kissing, I guess.
How sanitary of him.
Yes. Bryan goes for the 10 punches of doom. He calls April onto the apron, calling her a cunt, and April doesn't help out at all. So Pac gives him a low blow, hits an X Factor for the win. After the match, Pac walked off with April, while Lawler, who just called April a cunt, threw a hissy fit and pretended to have a heart attack in the ring. Yes, 10 years before his dad actually had a heart attack on a show, Bryan pretended to have one here on TNA. April ran back down, I guess, to console him. I hate this fucking angle.
Can I not mince words here whatsoever? This match fucking sucked. This was bad. These two have no chemistry whatsoever.
I didn't think the match was bad. I just didn't think it was very good. I gave it a 3.0 myself.
I gave it a 1.
Gotta say, as we mentioned before, it is rare when you dislike a match more than I do. You're usually a little bit more generous than I am with your ratings.
Yeah, but I hate this angle. And spoiler alert, Six is almost at the end of his first run in TNA.
Spoiler alert, he's not a fan of Mr. Wrestling 3. In case you have no idea who Mr. Wrestling 3 turns out to be, we'll just leave it for now.
Wait 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I gave it a 3.0 out of 10. I think we said that already, but yeah, you gave it a 1.
Yep. And now we get a massive tonal shift.
Yeah. I am so not understanding what the hell's going on here. Because Ron Killings, I think, is a turning babyface. I think. He's being interviewed by Mike Tenay, and he says that Mike Tenay is the only person in TNA that he trusts. And so he gives Tenay a contract for an NWA title match with Mr. Wrestling 3. When Mr. Wrestling 3 wants the title match, all he has to do is go to Tenay and sign the contract. Killings was even more suspicious because Bullet Bob agreed to this with no questions asked and gave his stamp of approval on it immediately, saying he normally has to fight Bob about anything and everything.
That's exactly what I have written down. Yeah, I mentioned the massive tonal shift. This was jarred because let's back up to the start. We had a bad comedy match. Then we have a meh tournament match between two people who don't have any chemistry. Mm-hmm. Then we get a damn good brawl. Mm-hmm. Then we have the poster child for sexual harassment, Panda. And then
harassment, Panda.
Energy. And then this promo where truth is, he's serious when he's quiet. And this was as serious as Truth pretty much got in TNA. Mainly because it goes to what Jake Roberts said. I remember this vividly, and this was even on Tuesday Night Titans. He said he doesn't yell or speak up like that because he doesn't need to. The words that he speaks are haunting enough. Truth took that to heart because when he spoke, it was haunting.
And
then, now we get the match that should have started the show.
Well, not even yet, because we get the Jeff Jarrett promo next.
Oh, right.
So, Jeff Jarrett is turning babyface, kind of. On half the show, Jeff Jarrett is turning babyface, and on half the show, he's the number one heel in the company. This is the part where he's turning babyface, because Jarrett, suddenly his mission to be NWA champion is an honorable one and not the douchey one that's been on for the first 4 months of the company's history. And so Jeff comes out and he calls TNA into the ring with a contract. Jarrett says that Killings, who's at home, is as dumb as Scott Hall and Curt Hennig. He goes to sign the contract, and by signing the contract, he would confirm that he is Mr. Wrestling 3, and also gives him a world title shot. However, instead of signing it, he rips the contract up and says he will be damned if 3 is going to sneak in the back door and take the world title match. Jarrett says that next week he's going to win the tournament, and in 2 weeks he will win the NWA world title. And then TNA says that he has another copy of the contract, meaning that this entire segment is completely pointless. And also, in case you didn't catch on what that means that Jeff Jarrett next week is not just going to have the match with Six, but next week is also the winner of that match versus BG James. So it's like Six being injured. They're like, we just can't delay this tournament an entire other week and do the world title match on the 27th. No. We have to do this on the 20th, damn it. But yeah, here's Jeff Jarrett as a babyface, allegedly, or turning babyface, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on this Jarrett promo?
It was fine.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, then, as you mentioned, we get the match that should have been the opener of this show. Kid Cash versus Jose Maximo versus Joel Maximo versus Tony Mamaluke versus Ace Steel with Mortimer Plumtree in an X Division tables elimination match. And the match started before Ace's music even played. And to be honest, the match would have been better without him, but that's just my bias against Ace Steel. They do announce that the winner of this match will take on the X Division champion next week. The match starts with your usual X Division dive spot, including Cash doing a double springboard flip dive onto everyone, which was just insane. So much shit was happening all at the same time, you couldn't quite catch it on camera. Cash went for Hurricane on the outside, but one of the Maximos blocked it and sent Cash back first into the ring apron. Ace and Mortimer teamed up to set up a few tables in and around the ring. But it comes back to bite him in the ass because Tony Mamaluke gives him a tornado DDT through one of the tables, and so Ace Steel is the first person eliminated. But then this is like that X Division elimination match from a few weeks ago, where the person that eliminates somebody is the next person eliminated. So Mamaluke was taken out next, thanks to a Joel Maximo moonsault through a table. So then we're left with Kid Cash versus the SAT in a 2-on-1 handicap match. And I will say I love the finish. It was a spectacular finish.
That was very good.
Joel was placed on a table outside the ring, and Cash gave Jose a Hurricane off the top rope, and Jose crashed through Joel through the table, and Kid Cash won. Still not sure why we couldn't just have a standard 5-way elimination match and why it had to be a tables match. But, still a fun match, still a good match. Still would have been a much better opener than the crap that we got to start the show. I gave it a 6.0 out of 10.
I gave it a 7.5. I really enjoyed this match. I also like the table aspect of it all and the way that Kid Cash was able to eliminate both Maximos with his moonsault.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I think this the first 40 minutes of the show might be some of the worst stuff in TNA, which convinces me that when Bryan and Vinny stopped, they didn't see the Harrison Storm promo after. They just quit when they saw BG versus Sonny Siaki. Now, granted this, I did not.
Mm-hmm.
I have not watched their video on it. So let me have my narrative.
Yeah, I haven't watched in a while, but I'm pretty sure they watched the entire show. But anyway.
Oh, well.
So Jeff Jarrett versus Curt Hennig. So Jeff Jarrett's back to being the #1 heel in the company. He comes to the ring first. He says that Hennig hasn't been in the building all day. He says that when he was 19, he was inches away from beating Curt Hennig for the AWA title. He said that he was a 7-time Intercontinental Champion, a 4-time WCW World Champion, neither of which Curt Hennig ever did. Hennig ran in, not dressed to compete. And did the bell ever ring to start this match? Because I'll be honest, I didn't hear it, but, I can't say I was paying super close attention to it.
It never rang.
Okay, great.
Because when you messaged me about this, I immediately went to the beginning of that Jarrett match. The bell didn't ring. It was like 3-4 minutes of Curt Hennig just beating the living dog snot out of Jeff. And then he throws out a couple of referees. Another referee comes out and Jeff rings bell, says, at DQ, done.
So Hennig choked Jarrett with a belt up and down the bleachers, and I thought it was impressive that Jarrett could go that long without being able to breathe. They bumped the first referee in the ring, and he apparently slipped into the same coma that the referee from the Triple H Undertaker WrestleMania 17 match did. So remember when those two fought through the stands for like 5 minutes while the referee was unconscious?
Match.
Yeah. This referee fell in the same coma, I believe. The second referee allowed Hennig to hit Jarrett with the chair twice. However, when he went for the third time, the referee was like, okay, that's too much. You only hit Jeff Jarrett with the chair twice. So he grabbed the chair, and so Hennig smacked the referee with the chair. Over the guardrail and to the ring, to grandmother's house we go. Hennig hit 3 Hennig plexes with no referee around to count. A third referee ran in. Hennig wouldn't let him in the ring, so Hennig was disqualified. And I note, I didn't even think the match actually started until Jarrett was declared the winner. Jarrett ran away. Hennig is restrained by security. This was at least better than Hennig cutting promos about DDP.
Yeah. I didn't give it a score. This wasn't a match, so no score.
Well, since the bell rang to end the match, I considered it a match at some point. 2.5 out of 10. Next week. Oh, did you have anything else to say about Jarrett versus Hennig?
It wasn't a match, so no.
Okay. So next week we have Jeff Jarrett versus Six Pac. The winner of that match versus BG James. Kid Cash challenging for the X Division title, which, just sounds tremendous. A fucking mixed tag match with Brian Lawler and April versus Jorge Estrada and Priscilla. Why? A 4-team match for the NWA tag team titles where in theory, we know one team in the match, but we don't know any of the challenging teams. and Amazing Red versus Jimmy Yang versus Tony Mamaluke, which at least sounds fantastic.
So there's some stuff there. Some stuff that'll make you want to watch.
Yeah,
And
there's about 30 minutes next week that sounds like good
mm-hmm.
shit. So we then get our main event. It's X Division champion AJ Styles with Mortimer Plumtree versus Jerry Lynn. This may have been the longest non-battle royal in TNA history up to this point. I think the only match that may have gone longer was the three-way ladder match, and even that I'm not entirely sure how long that went. But this match went over 20 minutes, which, I mean, they have a fucking 2-hour pay-per-view. They should be doing a 20-minute match or close to it every week, but, that ship has sailed. But the video before this match, they showed quotes from David Meltzer and Alex Marvez talking about how this was the most consistently good wrestling on pay-per-view all year long. Which, I mean, if you go back and look at those WWE shows from 2002, that really isn't the highest of praise, but still.
Yeah.
We did note that Jerry Lynn is both the X Division champion and the tag team champion, and never really got beat for either title. He didn't actually lose the X Division title, and the tag title match was a double pin situation. And actually, with the exception of Low Key's 5 weeks as Low Key's 3 weeks as champion and Six Pac's 2 weeks as champion, these two have held the X Division title the entire time TNA's been a thing. My prediction before the match even started, my prediction was Sonny Siaki interferes and costs Jerry Lynn the match.
Before I saw the match, I had Mortimer Plumtree interferes and costs Jerry Lynn the match.
Well, before we get into the match too far, Mike and Don are continuing the hard sell for next week, which includes Jimmy Yang returning from Japan and the debut of Easy Money. Now, Easy Money is a cancer to early 2000s wrestling companies. Do you know why?
Because everywhere he went, he killed the company.
Yes. ECW died a few months after he joined it. WCW died a few weeks after he joined it. And he was in Heartland Wrestling when the WWE pulled the developmental deal from them. They
Yikes.
should not bring this man in. I think it's, bad karma. It's bad juju.
No, bad juju is playing for the Chiefs now.
Ooh. So this match, I wanted to like this match more than I did. This was an excellent match, but if they'd just been left the fuck alone, they could have had a fucking match of the year.
Yeah.
Because, we've noted that Jerry Lynn is the MVP of this company, and AJ Styles is improving at an absurdly rapid pace. The AJ Styles on week 1 and the AJ Styles in week 20 are two entirely different AJ Styleses. And shockingly, working with Jerry Lynn for 4 months will do that to somebody. But there was too much in this match. There was too much Mortimer. There was too much Sonny Siaki. There was just too much. And, they're hitting moves back and forth. AJ kicks Lynn in the balls. They shove a chair in between the top and middle rope that Lynn goes headfirst into. A lot of this we really didn't fucking need, especially because Lynn kicked out of the head into the chair and the Styles Clash. The finish sees Lynn crotch AJ on the top rope. He hits a superplex for a near fall and then hits a cradle tombstone pile driver for the win and to win the title. Like I said, it is still really good. Just that I thought it was was getting to be overkill. It was overbooked with all the interference and all the excess in this match that was really not needed.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
All of the crap knocked off 2 points for me.
So what did you give it?
And with the 2 points knocked out, we have the same score, 7.5 out of 10.
But I mean, the match was really good. Like it's almost impossible for AJ Styles and Jerry Lynn to have a bad match. It's just that, they put too much into this. Like, they gave AJ and Red 12 minutes last week, and it was basically just AJ Styles and Amazing Red having a 12-minute match. And it's like we couldn't do that again this week. We had to add all this extra stuff. And that's the story of TNA. Why do something simple when you could do something overly complicated and unnecessary? But so Jerry Lynn wins, and the show pretty much goes off the air immediately because they went an hour and 57 minutes. They were pushing the top of the hour. But yeah, so overall average match quality of 4.14. Overall enjoyment, I gave a 4.0 out of 10. There was a lot to dislike about this show, but not as much as we've seen in prior shows. The matches weren't as strong as they've been in other shows, but we've definitely seen worse before. And for a future build, I gave a 5.0 out of 10 because watching Jerry Lynn wrestle anyone is almost worth the price of admission alone. And that gives us an overall rating of 4.38.
It is a tale of two shows. It's the same thing I said about last week's show. The good stuff is really, really good. AMW versus the New Church, the table match, the AJ Jerry Lynn match. Mm-hmm. Those three matches and everything surrounding them, very well done. Interference aside in the Jerry Lynn AJ match. Mm-hmm. Everything else is what everybody thinks of when they say, lol, TNA. Horrible gimmicks, horrible booking, really cartoony crap, Jeff Jarrett, egomaniacal douchebag. That it's probably why the company should have been a lot bigger than it was. And we're starting to see some talent fatigue. I mean, we're still seeing a lot of the same people. I mean, there's still some local people in Tennessee, or even in Memphis, because Power Pro kicked back off around this time, a new Memphis organization kicked back, or is this just another reason of Jerry Jarrett hates Jerry Lawler or whoever was running Memphis at this time?
I'll be honest, that I'm 100% sure of.
All right. But I think we will get new talent. You did mention Easy Money. I mean, at least it's somebody new. And that's what I'm getting at here. Like, when I saw Slash and Brian Lee come back, I was like, oh, thank God they're back. Like, there's only so much Hot Shots or Michaels or the Michaels guys.
You're not hoping for the return of Michaels and Michaels?
I think they're done with TNA.
Probably.
I did mention this earlier. I think I mentioned to it before we went recording. But there's a bright spot about that Bruce Jorge Estrada match. That is Bruce's last singles match with the company.
But wait, doesn't doesn't he have to still lose the Miss TNA title?
Who says you have to lose a title in order to be leading the company?
So Bruce may still be the linear Miss TNA champion.
No. If we want to go down that rabbit hole,
Oh, jeez.
if you
What have I
really
done?
want to go down that rabbit hole,
Sure,
since you brought this up,
your mission for the next week is to find out who the current Miss TNA champion is.
uh,
I may never talk to you again if I try to enforce that.
yeah.
Actually,
By the way,
he does
fun
not.
fact: Alan Funk had a MySpace.
Well, everyone at MySpace. He actually does not
Um,
lose a singles match, at least one that's on record, until 2009. He loses to someone named Hayden Young on an NWA Anarchy show. So we'll have to follow the adventures of the Miss TNA title because Hayden Young may be the reigning Miss TNA champion. Actually, no, he lost the title to Azrael uh, on February 21st, 2009. So it was not a long title reign for Hayden Young as Miss TNA. I mean, Bruce held the fucking belt for almost 7 years.
Azrael's still kicking around, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, so before we finish things up, anything you want to plug? Anything else you want to talk about here?
Yeah. Feel free to check out Game Show Gumbo. I have videos about game shows and other fun things.
Ooh, game
Um,
shows and other fun things?
yeah.
Wow. I love other fun things.
Oh, we have your answer. Anthony
Is
Henry,
who I'm not even gonna ask.
JD Drake's partner.
Yeah, yeah, that I know, but I'm not even gonna ask how the hell you got through who the current Miss TNA champion is already. But
Wait,
so
no, I take that back. Gabe Kidd is.
Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd is the linear Miss TNA champion. Wow. But all right. So that's gonna do it for this week's show. Congratulations to Gabe Kidd for being the linear Miss TNA champion. Check out Game Show Gumbo, pardon me. Check out my book. Check out a whole bunch of other things. And thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you again in 7 days.